Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another special edition of the Shenko and Spence show. And we're breaking down the Seahawks Panthers game in a crazy NFC wildcard game that we just witnessed the past couple days. The Seahawks escaped the Minnesota Vikings after a Blair Walsh missed field goal in the negative degrees of weather up there in Minnesota. And what a way for them to keep their great playoff run going with the Seahawks in unbelievable fashion. And as we jump right into the divisional round, the Seahawks, the sixth seed going up against the number one seeded Carolina Panthers, and both teams are on a roll right now. And I'm just going to throw it right to you, Spence. What are your first thoughts of the game, and where you think what's the big key factors to this game right now going forward?
My first thoughts really about the Seahawks in Carolina is that, well, first off, I want to take it back a week ago. I think Minnesota played almost a perfect game. Teddy Bridgewater, no interceptions, didn't force the ball. Adrian Peterson, he coughed it up one time, but Minnesota's defense was really spectacular the entire ball game. And they held Seattle in check in negative degrees. And the whole setting, Shenko, was perfect for Minnesota to pose an upset to the Seattle Seahawks. But literally, even though Minnesota played perfectly, Seattle still beat them. And that's just a testament to Seattle. And even though a lot of the country was rooting for an upset, they wanted Mike Zimmer and the Vikings to take a new step. They wanted a new face. We now get this wonderful matchup. So, Shenko, I'm going to throw it back to you. And, what did you think about the Seahawks escaping Minnesota? Because I was very impressed still with Seattle last week.
Well, last week, as I witnessed, the Seahawks they looked like a team. They looked like they're going to get bounced out in the first round. I mean, Marshawn Lynch was practicing all week for them last week, and then, he was a late scratch, and that really screwed up the chemistry with that team. And they had to throw in guys like Derek Coleman, guys who have not played, very much in the past couple weeks. Like guys like Fred Jackson, who are on the tail end of their careers. And you just they just got lucky. One real lucky mishap in the fourth quarter when the miscue with the center and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson wasn't ready for the snap. It went over his head. Russell Wilson was calm and collected. He just threw it up to I'm trying to remember who the wide receiver was. But, yeah, he threw it up to
I think it was Curse.
He threw it up to Curse, and oh my God, what a turn of events that was. That could have been a huge loss, and it really was a momentum shifter for them. And then for the big drive that they had at the end, Seahawks defense were kind of bending but don't break, and then that's going to be something they have to do to stop Cam Newton in a big hostile playoff environment down there in Charlotte. Yeah. But they were pretty lucky, Seahawks, to escape that game. I wanted to say that before we break into the Panthers.
Well, yeah, but before we break into the game, I thought, Shenko, Minnesota played, like I said, their defense was all world. I thought Zimmer, Chad Greenway, Newman, just all the Sharif Floyd was a freaking beast the entire game. I thought Minnesota played a spectacular game on defense. And like I mentioned, Teddy Bridgewater was solid. But I look at Seattle, Shenko, they literally have no weaknesses on defense. Adrian Peterson was stonewalled. The entire game, he was just shut down at the line of scrimmage. They were just cramming the line, and Michael Bennett and Cliff Averill were just unbelievable. So, Shenko, you can't run on Seattle. And then usually when you can't run, usually a defense's weakness is in the secondary. Literally the only pass play that Minnesota had was a 5-yard pass, and then Seattle would clamp down and make a play because they have Earl, Cam, and Richard Sherman, the Legion of Boom. I think Seattle's defense was spectacular. Russell Wilson, when everything was going against him, it just made like a Hall of Fame play. Seattle just has a winning culture, Matt. They know how to win these games late. They know how to close. They did that last year in Green Bay when their offense played like horse crap the entire game, and then Russell Wilson just turns it on. They really do play for 60 minutes. And I thought Minnesota played the perfect game, and Seattle still won. Seattle, like you said, they feel like they have a new lease on life, Shenko, when Blair Walsh missed. So what do you think Seattle's mindset is going into this game? I think they have to feel great about themselves. They're playing with house money.
Yeah, they really are, and they really got fortunate enough to be able to escape that game, as I said. But I want to go off and say, like, as you said, Seattle has a great defense with Averill and those boys back there. I mean, they held Adrian Peterson to a 2.3 yards per carry last week. Adrian Peterson, obviously one of the best running backs in the league, and for them to stop this week, guys like Cameron Artis-Payne, Jonathan Stewart, Mike Tolbert, I think it's going to be quite an easy task for them, because I think if you're going to stop Adrian Peterson, one of the greatest probably running backs of all time in this sport, in this game, it's going to be pretty walk in the park to stop these guys. I mean, unless the Carolina Panthers offensive line plays out of their minds on Sunday, I just don't see how they're going to be able to run the ball. And then Cam Newton is going to be, put all the weight on his shoulders, just like just like Deshaun Watson in the Clemson game, where all the weight was on his shoulders for that game. So that's how it looks like to me. Carolina definitely is a team looking for consistency, especially in the playoffs. They have not had a lot of success. The jury's still out on them as well. And it's going to be a great game to watch. It's going to go right down the wire. Carolina has obviously had a great year. Well, it's still, the jury's still out for them in the playoffs and how they play in a playoff atmosphere of kind of type of football. And we're going to wait and watch. I'm really excited for these guys to be able to make big impacts for the Panthers, how they're going to be able to deviate from guys like Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor. Like, guys, these guys need to step up. I mean, other than Ted Ginn Jr., who can blast you out on some great speed, like guys like Cotchery, who has great veteran experience, has to mentor these young guys coming in, guys like Brenton Burson and Corey Brown, who only have about 2 years of experience. So that experience factor is really going to hurt the Panthers, and they're going to have to lean on guys like Cotchery to really help them out in these key moments in this game going forward.
There's one name that I want to mention that I think is the key to this game for Carolina, and that's number 88, Greg Olsen. In the first matchup, Seattle's kryptonite really in their defense is tight ends down the seam, and Greg Olsen beat them the first game on the final drive with Cam Newton. And Seattle, I believe they outplayed Carolina the first matchup in Seattle, and they let their foot off the gas. They were still earlier in the year. They didn't have the motivation that they have right now. I think Seattle's the type of team that earlier in the season, they were kind of just prepping for their run, and they're so talented that they could just turn it on. This is going to be the bloodiest slugfest that the NFL is going to see, and I don't mean in a way that we saw Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. There's going to be hard hitting. It's Josh Norman and Richard Sherman out there on the field. You have so many personalities. You might have Marshawn Lynch coming back. I don't see this game. I don't see the winner getting past 24 points. It's going to be below 24 points. It could very well be in the high teens, like a 20-17 type of deal, where this game could very well go into overtime. Carolina got a bad break. If Blair Walsh simply made his field goal, they're going to be playing Green Bay, and they would probably slaughter Green Bay. And then you'd have Arizona waiting for you in the championship round. But yeah, this is the worst possible matchup for Carolina, a proven playoff team, the team that really humiliated you in the divisional round last year after Carolina got some momentum. This is going to be the best game of the weekend.
Absolutely.
And Shenko, I totally agree with your point. I don't think that Stewart and Tolbert are going to get off at all. I think it's going to be Cam Newton extending plays with his legs and making things happen and just kind of improvising. And I really do think that they should go deep with Greg Olsen and really take shots down the field with Ginn and not play afraid like Bridgewater did. But my question for you is, we saw Seattle's offense last week, and Minnesota played spectacular, made them look pedestrian. they have to go and play Carolina's defense. Do you see Seattle's offense having any success against Carolina's defense?
I think Seattle is going to be struggling a lot because of the fact that even Minnesota's defense had literally the blueprint to stop Russell Wilson in his tracks. I mean, if Carolina wants to stop Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense, you just got to go back to that game last week. I mean, the blueprint's right out there for you. The Minnesota got in his head. You know, he was containing them all game. They played press defense, cover 3. They were just all over him like a bag of peanuts, and it was unbelievable to watch because Russell Wilson, even though the cold factor was a huge factor in that game, there was no offense to be heard of whatsoever. It was one of those old-fashioned games where you just go up and down the field for field position. But I see guys like making big plays for Carolina, like for Jared Allen, be able to bring that experience factor, bring that pressure along the edge. Guys like Star Talulu and guys that could be able to get to the linebacker, get to them really well. And obviously you have Luke Kuechly, obviously obvious Pro Bowler who's going to lead that team to greater heights in this defense. I mean, Russell Wilson, it hurts for him because he lost a lot of key players like Jimmy Graham earlier in the year with a torn patella. So that was a key problem for him, losing him early. Marshawn Lynch not really having him is really a cause for concern. But Seattle is going to have to get on them early and just take their shots down the field. And you just got to roll the dice. Even though Josh Norman is one of the best cornerbacks in the league outside of Richard Sherman, and you just gotta keep fighting at him because, like what Odell Beckham did, you just gotta keep going at these guys, and they're eventually going to start breaking. And remember in that game, Odell Beckham torched him in the fourth quarter, coming back after what a great comeback that was for the New York Giants. So you can look at the tapes from the back then, even a month ago, and these guys can be beaten. They're not like a number 1 ranked team in this league. They can easily be had, and it's going to be a tough, gritty game, a little close to the end. But I think it's going to be coming down to it's going to be probably a 3-point game. My honest opinion, it could be like a 19-16 type of game where Cam just makes a great play at the end, at like a third and 6, and to be able to make it going off to the NFC Championship game because it's going to go right to Charlotte. That's my prediction right now.
You're taking Carolina.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're taking Carolina, and it's going to come down to the final drive. Do you think it's a touchdown or a field goal? I mean, what do you think the score is of this bout?
I think Cam's going to drive him down. I think he's going to drive him down to like the 30 or the 20-yard line, and then it's going to get conservative, and then Gano's going to kick. He's going to kick the one that sends them to one of their biggest games in their whole lives, especially for Cam, especially outside of the national title game when he had in 2010 with the Auburn Tigers. So
that's so cool. It really is like the ultimate game because I think you have two of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. You have Cam Newton, who's just such a winner this year. And after Carolina lost to Atlanta, their whole mindset was, okay, we don't care about this undefeated season as much because we want to be able to advance in the playoffs. This is the ultimate measuring stick game. I think if Seattle wins this game, that they'll be able to get back to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Even last week, Shenko, Russell Wilson and Curse and Tyler Lockett, they were so close to connecting on so many big passing plays. And the ball hung up in the air because the temperature was so dang cold that Seattle's offense had trouble throwing the football, and everything was so difficult. And Carolina, Charlotte, it should be better conditions than in Minneapolis. I look at Seattle, and I just see their offense. I just see Russell Wilson creating plays during this game. Like you mentioned, Odell Beckham had Josh Norman. I think that the game's going to get off to a slow start. Like it might be a 6-3 first half, but then I think Wilson's going to open it up on them. And against that zone that Seattle plays with the Legion of Boom, with Chancellor, Sherman, and Earl Thomas, I think it's too much for Cam to have any sort of consistency. I see Seattle winning 20-13, so I'm gonna roll with the Seahawks. They know how to win. and they have a new lease on life playing with house money. It's going to be the game of the weekend, and we're going to get a treat.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun, exciting time in the NFL lights of things, and I'm looking forward to the Panthers. Hopefully, they can pull out this win, or we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes with that. But yeah. But anything else you want to add, Spence, before we wrap it up today? I'm just.
I just wanted to say that this Carolina Seattle, I don't see the running backs really having much impact at all. Even Marshawn is going to get shut down. It's going to come down to the two quarterbacks, and this season, I mean, all these playoff games have just been stellar, and Minnesota played a perfect game and still had so much and still couldn't defeat Seattle. I just think Seattle's an invincible team, and it's just about having a winning culture. But again, we want to hear, you guys, comment, leave a link below, and just give your opinion on the bout itself between Carolina and Seattle. And it was a lot of fun talking about the game.
Yeah, I think it's really we like to bring out more guys and, come on out, hang out with us guys and be able to join our show and being able to voice our opinion because we love sports as much as you guys do. If you guys like what you heard, follow Shenk and Spence Show on YouTube. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff, and we rocking around some new videos in the next coming weeks. So
we got Arizona coming up soon. We got more previews coming up in the next, and literally in the next day, we'll have some videos out.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely do it for you guys, and we'll be rocking and rolling again with this video in the next day or so. And I appreciate you guys coming out, and we'll see you guys next time.